This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Athletics.
Leaping at the wall, it's gone! A towering drive into center field by Rooker.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
A judgy blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Swung on, hit high, hit deep to right, away back into the second deck.
Bobby Witt Jr. becomes the first shortstop in Major League history to have two 30-30 seasons.
Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to walk-off dingers to Hall of Fame talk. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of A's Cast Live. It's a Monday after a walk-off win for the A's at the ballpark in West Sacramento, a 4-2 homestand. The team is 500, now back on the road before the Athletics go on to take on the Texas Rangers starting today for a 4-game set in Arlington, and then off to South Beach to take on the Miami Marlins, a matchup everybody waits for every single year. A's Marlins this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. A lot to get into today. Exciting times. The ball club could go over 500 today for the first time since who was manager?
That'd be the Bob Melvin era.
What year was that?
2021.
How many wins?
86.
You remember that year? Remember where, like, you look back on that year, and that when, Jesus Luzardo gets traded. Now you're bringing in Marte. You're bringing in Josh Harrison, Yan Gomes. You're going for it. And it seemed like such like a letdown, right? And now you remember, wow, 86 wins was a lot of wins. That was an era in baseball where we had seen the A's just a couple of years before that, 2 straight years, only got into the wild card game, winning 97 games. That first year they took on the Yankees. What did the Yankees win? 100?
Yeah.
101?
Yeah. It was 100.
I mean, it took 97 wins to get into the wild card game. The A's won 86 games that year. And I remember people were calling up the post-game show, and they were so disappointed. It's like, it wasn't that, but now we look back, 86 wins back in old 2020 wasn't so bad of a year when you look back on it. And wow, today, with the win today, will be the first time the A's can do that. They can be over 500 since Bob Melvin was the manager. So we're going to take stock in the A's today. I think throughout the year, it's important to say, okay, this is a good mark. We've played 28 games. Today's the 29th game. We're nearing the end of the month. I'm going to be taking some time off. I haven't had a game off, so I'll take some time off on Thursday, and then I'll be back Friday, but then I'm taking Saturday and Sunday off. So I thought this would be a good time. Got 3 days. Kind of find out, okay, where is this team right now? And I tell you what, I just got my notes a little bit ago, and what do I have in my hand here? I have, and if you're listening on A's Cast or the A's Radio Network, and specifically 650 KSTE, I in my hand have the MLB packet today, which means it's Monday, which means what comes out on Monday? And
Power rankings?
And I'll show the viewers. We got the old power rankings, baby. I haven't looked at power rankings in a long, long time. You know why?
Because we haven't been 500 or better in a long time.
There's been absolutely no I am stuck. We are in San Francisco. My whole thing is just talk for a minute.
Yeah, the A's haven't had a chance to be high in the power rankings for a couple of years, so we haven't really had a chance to really take stock on what the power rankings have been from MLB.com or The Athletic, ESPN. There was a good piece on ESPN today talking about they're looking ahead to the All-Star game and who could be All-Stars for different teams.
All right, stop it. All right, so we haven't looked at power rankings in a long time because there's been no need, no reason. By the way, who do they have as our All-Star?
Well, they talk about dark horses, Nick Kurtz / Tyler Soderstrom, and they mentioned Jacob Wilson.
But they don't give you an All-Star?
No, they have like guys who are the All-Star, someone to watch.
Who's the All-Star?
They didn't have. They said someone to watch would be Wilson and then Soderstrom.
Soderstrom. I mean, how could you not look at Ty? But all right, that's cart Cart before the horse. It's a long way away.
He's a left fielder now.
There is no question, and it's easier to make. It's easier to get an outfielder than it is a first baseman.
Oh, yeah, it's a crowded first base.
Okay, so for the first time we've actually looked at power rankings, we're 20th. Now, that's not going to blow up your skirt. I get it. But if you followed the power rankings every single week on MLB.com or every single Monday, we have been really, really bad. And rightfully so, we've earned our rankings. But today, we've earned our rankings at 20th. And you could really make a case. You know, it's interesting. The Rays had a great weekend in San Diego. I believe they took 2 out of 3 down at Petco Park.
I thought they swept them.
Was it a sweep?
I think they swept them, yeah.
So they're back to 500. They have some teams on here that, you know, you can make a case. Like, we are better than the Braves. If you go by this season, we are better than the Braves. They have the Braves rated higher than us in the power rankings. They got the Cincinnati Reds higher than us in the power rankings. You can make a case we are even better than 20th, but I'll take 20th because that's growth. We're seeing the growth. So there you go today, A's fans. We start as the power rankings, MLB.com. It is 20th. And now you're going to take on the Texas Rangers. By the way, today on the show, our first visit of the year from our national baseball columnist here in the Bay Area, Eno Sarris from The Athletic. Always great to have him on. A lot to get into. I will admit, one of our hot segments that everybody loves is Hot Take Tuesday. And I have called Arlington, Texas today to consult with the great Johnny Dasco. As I consulted with you today, it might be time for my annual hot take that has been wrong. And I have taken a bit, I've doubled down on a hot take and I've wore it. I've been wrong. You know what they say in golf? Don't follow up a bad swing thought and a bad swing with another bad swing thought and bad swing. You keep making the same bad moves. That's how you get to triple bogeys and doubles and triples. Don't ever follow up a bad swing with another bad idea and a bad swing. Well, you know what? Yours truly never learns. I may be tripling down on a bad take tomorrow. I consulted you. I consulted the great Johnny Dasco. You guys love the idea. I think you've hammered me for this. I'm not going to tell everybody what it is. You've hammered me for that. You've hammered me for being wrong on this.
Well, I'm curious to see what team you may pick this time, because I'm like a drunk card player at about 4 a.m. with this one. It's not a good idea. I shouldn't be at the tables. I should not be playing blackjack. It's like 3:30 in the morning. I'm at the Hyatt in Incline Village, and I should not be there. Or I'm at like Red Rock, beautiful Red Rock Casino, where we like to stay when we see our aviators. It's like I'm down in Vegas, and I'm going to not double down anymore. I'm going to triple down on a bad take. But this might be the time. Because you know the great thing about when you play blackjack? You will win at some point. You keep playing, at some point you will win. It's just, can you keep losing all the money to finally get it all back with that one bet? Well, I'm rooting against you again.
You'll be rooting against me again
because I just like seeing this hot take never come true. This
might be my year.
It's a good running bit for this program.
Yeah, so we will get into that. We wanted to Diamond Notes today. Our first Diamond Note is want to take stock in the A's. Want to take stock in where this team is heading into Arlington. By the way, the Rangers are an interesting team. They can't hit. They have scored the least amount of runs in baseball. They just had do you have the video of their horrific walk-off loss in San Francisco yesterday?
I do, yes, actually.
Folks, you want to know what the mindset is? And is there the play-by-play with it?
Yes, it's NBC Sports Bay Area, Dwayne Kuiper, Mike Krukow.
The great Dwayne Kuiper. Kruk and Kuip on the call. If you want to know what the mindset is of the Texas Rangers going into this series, the Texas Rangers lost 2 out of 3 to the Athletics, their first trip to the ballpark in West Sacramento. A walk-off there, the great Jacob Wilson phenomenal. All right. They got walked off twice in San Francisco this weekend. Yesterday, this is how it went down. As they like to say, the Little League. What do we call it? What do they call it? The Little League home run?
Little League home run, yeah.
Here is the little. This is for sure the Little League. This is one of the greatest endings I've ever seen to a baseball game in my life. Just imagine, I wasn't there. I was in Sacramento. But just imagine being at this game. You've been sitting there for 2 hours and change. And this reminds, you know what this reminds me of? It's like when you kick off, you've like kicked the field goal, you got the lead, you kick off, and next thing you know, everybody's throwing the ball all around. The Music City miracle that the Titans pulled off years ago. It's just it's chaos. This is just a chaos ending right here. Roll the tape.
Taps this one to third. And he sails it down the right field line. Roberts is on the move. And he is going to stop. No, now he's going to go to third. Here's the throw. It gets by him. Here comes Ramos. This game is over.
Think about that. That is a Little League. All of a sudden, the parents are getting the orange slices and the Capri Suns. This ball game is over. That I could not believe when I got home from Sacramento last night, and I'm watching Quick Pitch on MLB Network. I cannot believe that's how that game ended. So if you didn't get to see it, it's hard. I mean, you're hearing the television call. So it is a chopper to the left side of the infield. That's it. And next thing you know, thrown down the left field line, thrown past the third baseman. Ramos comes in to score. And you're the Texas Rangers. You've lost 10 of 15 on the road this year. The road has been horrific for you. Now, what the Athletics need to solve is that even though the Rangers have scored the least amount of runs this year at home, not just at home, they have scored the least amount of runs in baseball. They are 30th in runs scored. They got offensive problems. But the Rangers have won 10 of 13 at Globe Life. So they have been able to figure it out. They've pitched well. They've been able to figure out how to win at home. They've been brutal on the road. For the A's, you're on the flip side. When we're taking stock, you're going into the series. I mean, can you imagine that flight home? Like Bruce Bochy and the Rangers? It's great when you win a World Series. But then you have those expectations after that. And they were awful last year. They're just 2 games over 500 this year. And you just got walked off twice, and you got walked off like that. Morale can't be great with the Texas Rangers going into the series. So this just might be a good time to catch them for 4 straight games.
Yeah, and you have guys like Seager now who's hurt again. He got hurt in the series in West Sacramento. They have a minus 15 run differential. I mean, their ERA is really good, and they're 10-1 when they score 4 or more runs. We've been keeping track of that now. The A's are 10-5. The Rangers are 10-1 when that happens. But they have the 5th worst batting average in the American League as a team at 225. So they're not hitting.
Well, last time I checked, there's really only one stat that counts.
The wins?
No, runs scored when it comes to offense. No matter how you do it.
They have the fewest in baseball.
Yeah, you have the fewest in baseball. So it's like, It is a major problem. They don't score runs. Now, we have talked about this stat really, it's amazing to me how true it is, the 4 runs or more. When the Rangers score, we already know, A's score 4 runs or more. It's the Jim Cott, the new Hall of Famer, Jim Kitty Cott, guy who won, how many Gold Gloves did he win? Like 12 Gold Gloves?
It was double digit.
He was a great pitcher. Great broadcaster, finally put into the Baseball Hall of Fame, but he said it's a race to 4, and I was like,
He only won 16. 16.
I shorted him 4 Gold Gloves.
I mean, that's like Maddox. You're gonna like Maddox Clemente territory.
He probably has the most all time, right? Or does Ozzie Smith have the most?
I would say probably. Let's see.
I mean, 16's a lot.
Ozzie Smith has 13.
Maddox, I think, is 15.
And Clemente, I think, has 15 too. Maddox has 18.
Ooh, I shortchanged him too.
Roberto Clemente has 12.
So Maddox has the most Gold Gloves all time?
I have to do a full query search of that, but oh wow, Nate jumping in.
Whoa, wow! It wasn't even a Kings question, and Nate jumped in right away. Wow!
I didn't ask about the most 3-pointers in Kings history.
Hey, Nate was proof. Trough talk was Nate. I just want to let you know, Nate is our engineer back in Sacramento. We are in San Francisco today. Nate, you wouldn't believe the amount of emails I got today on troughs. I have people researching troughs, trying to figure out how to get me a trough. I do not want a trough. It was all a joke. My wife will never allow it to happen. But yes, people were totally, we had walk off. It is amazing. And program directors, and I know we have program directors listening. Listen up, program directors. You're in the entertainment business. And your audience will remember funny, entertaining stuff more than they ever will the hardcore stats. It could even be politics. It can be whatever your hardcore thing is. What does the fan base always remember? The funny stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
I woke up this morning to emails. You can email me, ctownsend@athletics.com. I woke up to a bunch of trough stuff. Because why? It was funny. You didn't hear it. I said G1C, Golden One Center. Everybody's gotten too bougie. What did I call it? G&C, G1C, Golden One Center. You Kings fans have gotten too bougie with your all-you-can-eat sushi and prime rib, and God, the cookies were the sea salt chocolate chip cookies were delicious. I loved it. G1C is awesome, but you got soft. We got to get Tross back into G. Well, they've never were there. We got to get Tross into G1C. We got to get Kings players, fans toughened up. You're going to go into a little bit of a rebuild. I'm okay with that. I'll be here with you in that rebuild. I know about rebuilding, but you got to get toughness back into Sacramento, our capital city, because it's gotten bougie and it's gotten soft.
Well, again, Capital City getting caught up by Capital City Chris.
Yeah, Capital City Chris is calling you out. Oh, look at all the desserts in the Capital One Club. And look how I walk into the arena and I can already see the floor. You need Tross. We need to harden you up. Got soft. They've been doing Tross in Wrigley Field for over 100 years. You realize that?
I knew they had them, but
over 100 years.
Wrigley is over
men being men. Soft. All right, back to the A's. Okay, taking stock in the A's. When we take stock in this team, after that 4-2 homestand, you had 2 walk-offs. The A's have been actually pretty consistent. If you look at the numbers from road and home, whether you want to go average, you people said average didn't matter. Now you think it does. Home runs, RBIs, OPS, whatever you want to go. For the first time in a long time, we're seeing home and road be very similar. That was not the case back at the Coliseum. Back in the Coliseum days, road was always higher than home for the most part. Always. Now, there might be some anomalies there, but you would always see the team would hit better away from the Coliseum. Why? Big ballpark, cold. You know, we know all the elements. And even though it's been cold and we think the ball's been flying out, oh my God, the ball's flying out of Sacramento. You look at the numbers, road and home have been very, very close. When's the last time we've seen that? So some consistency that you could look at road to home with the A's offense that we haven't seen in years.
Yeah, and the one thing for me that's, we mentioned this the other day, and they're still one of the best teams at it. They don't strike out, which is something we talked about for years about how bad the team was at striking out.
Awful.
The 3 true outcome.
Awful. And actually, our general manager, David Forrest, was on MLB Now. You know, it's our favorite program with our guy, Brian Kinney, friend of the program. He brought it up to our GM today going, what's going on? You usually are a 3 true outcome team, and that's not the case this year.
Yeah, Jacob Wilson has the lowest 3 true outcome percentage of baseball at 9.3. The next closest, your guy, Luis Arraez at 10.4. Then there's Nico Horner, Keber Ruiz, the catcher from the Nats, and Alejandro Kirk. Those are the top 5, but 9.3% 3 true outcome. I mean, he's only walked twice and struck out 5 times.
Well, look at everybody on the team. Who strikes out a lot? Brent Rooker's getting hot. Brent Rooker, by the way, is starting to do what he did last year. And remember, that led to the best year of his career, and he was an MVP candidate. And he would have got a lot more votes if he would have been on a good team. He had over a 160 OPS plus, which puts you into a great year. So Brent Rooker started off slow last year. Brent Rooker is starting to get hot. You got Jacob Wilson. Tyler Soderstrom has played like an all-star. I mean, you can go around still waiting for Blade to get going. Andujar's hit. Second base, now all of a sudden, Luis Urias has, with the walk-off jack, he's looking to homer for the third straight day for the first time in his career. He's given you offense. Nick Kurtz, by the way, and Steve Sachs brought this up, Ace Cast on NBC. He talked about he loves how he's seeing Nick Kurtz just taking the ball the other way. That's why I don't like the comp for Jim Thome. Jim Thome was not a take the ball the other way kind of guy. Jim Thome, who the Hall of Famer, loved his game. It was grip it and rip it, baby. You knew Jim Thome was swinging, and he was swinging to hit Jim Thome came up with bad intentions. That's why he hit over 600 home runs, and he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Nick Kurtz, we like the home run numbers, but what he's showing you is his ability to be patient, hit the ball the other way, and to get hits. That's why right now, he reminds me more of Sean Casey than he does Jim Thome. So until I see all these balls going out of the ballpark, he reminds me a lot more of Sean Casey. Langoliers, hopefully we'll get going. Langoliers is going to Texas. God knows we know he dominates when he goes back home. He grew up about 20 minutes from Arlington. So he'll get his game going.
In Globe Life Field, he has 6 homers and 10 RBIs in his last 8 games at Globe Life Park. Globe Life Park.
So, because Globe Life Field is across the street.
Yeah, still there, yeah. So 6 homers, 10 RBI in his last 8 games, including a 3-run homer last April.
So offense.
Or 3 homer games.
That has been something that's so interesting, is that the offense has been very, very consistent. Where I thought we would be better, and I like to look at this time of the year, give me the game logs, because you get some games that are out of hand, and they skew. When you don't have that many games and that many innings, it just skews ERAs. When you have because everybody you look around baseball has had some stinkers. You look around, you check the scores every day, you see 14 runs, or let's just say double-digit games, right? We've had a few of those. They skew everybody's numbers. But our pitching hasn't been great. But you look at when we have gotten hot here, and this is a great note, the A's have won 8 of their last 12. In those 8 wins, they've only given up 17 runs. Kind of tells you a lot. Like when they're winning, they're pitching really well. Then there's been some games that, and especially at the ballpark in West Sacramento, have been blowouts. And then all of a sudden that changes the numbers. But in the wins, they have thrown the ball real well. And I got to tell you, this number, this race for 4, why we got into Jim Cott, the Rangers are a great example. When the Rangers score fewer than 4 runs, they really, really struggle. They've scored less than 4 runs in each of their last 4 games. When they score 4 runs, the team is 10-1. You look at all these different teams. So this Jim Cott stat, the race for 4, you get 4 runs, you probably win. That works for both the A's and the Rangers. So maybe the tip of the game today is get to 4 runs. And because this ballpark has not played as a hitter's ballpark the way this is Globe Life Park.
Park, yes.
Globe Life Field across the street, obviously, at one time in baseball, before they put some tarps, it wasn't tarps, but they put like these screens, these mesh screens up that changed the wind in the ballpark. Before they did that, Globe Life Field and Fenway Park and Coors Field were the 3 toughest places to get 27 outs. It was great because it was the jet stream that blew out to right center. The ballpark, being that it's enclosed, they hardly ever open the roof. Texas has played more of a pitcher's ballpark.
Yeah, and the offense or the numbers for the Rangers pitching shows. I mean, they have one of the best ERAs in baseball. I mean, guys are like Tyler Maley's having a fantastic year. Where their offense isn't coming through and they have injuries, but their pitching staff is what's buoyed them to their 15-13 record.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, if they'd have their pitching, who knows where they'd be with how bad the offense has been.
So taking stock in the A's, the number one thing we're doing today with Diamond Notes, it's the reality that guys have bought in. The players are good. We wondered coming out of spring training, is this real? Are these expectations real? You always wonder because, when you've won 50 games and 69 games, that's terrible, right? These guys think they compete. They think they can compete. They think they're good enough to be, at least in contention for the West. And you're like, okay, I'll buy it, but I got to see it. Well, you know what? They're kind of showing us this is real. I don't know where they go after we take stock from this game, but going into this game, the expectations, they're showing us what they were telling us and what they believe is at least somewhat real. You are 14-14. You're right in this thing. You've proven you can beat certain teams. You've had a really tough schedule early. You've got to beat the bad teams. They've been able to do that. And now let's see as we'll start to see more games in division. And look out. We got the Phillies coming to Sacramento. We've got the Yankees coming to Sacramento. May is going to be a really fun month. Let's pause for station identification right here on A's Cast. And something that we need to get into, and I'm going to ask coming up next, Eno Sarris, to have somebody move the way Tyler Soderstrom just all of a sudden went from first base, leading the league in home runs. Hey, you've never played left field, go to left field. How many times has he seen that? And in modern day baseball, how many guys would have went, I don't know about this. You might want to talk to my agent. I don't know if this is good for me. Now, how many guys would have done that? How many guys leading the league in home runs and off to a great start would be cool with, like, you want to move my position and I've never played there before? Tyler Soderstrom said, oh, I'm in. Great. Let's do this. How many guys would do that? And what does that say about leadership of the Athletics? That players are willing to do what? Sign contract extensions, switch positions, do anything it takes for the club. What does that mean? We'll find out next right here on A's Cast Live.
A's shortstop Jacob Wilson joined Towny on A's Cast Live to discuss the hitting insights he's gained from his father, Jack.
The main thing for me has always been the hands. Being able to push the hands back into a certain slot that I want them to be in and produce as much force as I can. We talked about kind of throwing a punch. Like you don't want to throw it from a very small angle. You want to really wind
static.
Out.
You don't want to be still static.
Yeah, you don't want to be static. You kind of want to reach back and be able to produce as much power as you can. So that's always kind of where the hands come from. Being able to push the hands back and really getting into that stance when you want to hit is kind of like a basketball defender. You don't want to be you don't want to stand up too much because the guy can go around you. You don't want to be too low. You kind of want to be right in that sweet spot. So just being able to get to that point and being able to get the hands back where they need to be and just being ready to hit. These guys throw a lot of strikes. They throw a lot of good pitches. So just be able to be as good spot as I can is kind of the main approach.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
Here's the pitch, and it's a hit. Folsom Lake Ford has stepped up again, winning the Triple Crown Award, Ford Motor Company's highest honor, now 7 years in a row. Folsom Lake Ford is a top sales leader in the U.S., along with being top in customer satisfaction in sales, service, and finance. Now that's a home run. Don't miss the huge savings on your favorite models at your truck headquarters. Folsom Lake Ford in the Folsom Auto Mall.
A's closer Mason Miller joined Chris Townsend on A's Cast Live ahead of opening day to discuss the thrill of closing out games for the Athletics.
You always like that juice. I mean, in college, it would be you'd have to go a couple 8 games and starter to get to it. But, there's nothing that beats that feeling of getting the final out of the game, high-fiving all your teammates and getting into the locker room with a win. So, I've liked the big moment. I've liked it. I think I've been able to keep it pretty even head about it, though, and I think that helps me have more success in that role, that I don't get too high or too low. I just know that if I get 3 outs, I got the job done. It doesn't have to be pretty. I don't have to be perfect, but it's you either got it done or you didn't, and I think there's something liberating in that.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
And here's the pitch to Tyler. Swung on, drilled to right, way back.
Martini at the track. He will turn and watch it fly.
That swung on, drive to deep right field. Going back, Palacios, and it is gone.
2 payoff pitch. And Soderstrom launches this one to deep right. Taylor back. It is gone. And Soderstrom has done it again.
A's Cast Live continues from NBC Sports. Here's Chris Townsend.
What time are we rocking today on NBC?
4:30 our Pacific. That'd be
Chris and Johnny will be at 4.
Yes. So
From
we're
the ballpark in Arlington.
Yep. Globe Life. Oh boy, Park. Right. Yeah, Globe Life Park.
Globe Life Park. I got to tell you, we were just there in Dallas for the winter meetings, and I went over for Monday Night Football to a meaningless football game where the Cowboys were taking on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, but I'd never worked a game in Dallas. I'd only been to the Rangers Stadium, so I went over for Monday Night Football. You didn't want to go.
I didn't really have any ambition to see Burrow and
but
Cooper
the stadium, Rush. I mean, Jerry's World is pretty awesome.
I mean, I've always wanted to see that. I've only seen it from outside because I've been to Globe Life Park.
Yeah,
before.
my good buddy Greg Ford is a Dallas Cowboy season ticket holder, so I was sitting with all the bougie Cowboy fans, and it's a beautiful stadium. But what was really cool was right outside the football stadium is they're building this museum. It should be done. It's for all the men and women who have won Purple Hearts.
Oh, nice. That's
and
cool.
Roger Staubach is a big part of this. And obviously what Roger Staubach, Captain America, as they used to call him, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. And obviously he was Naval Academy in our armed services. And, you want to talk about heroes in our country, not cowboys and Rangers, but real heroes, men and women who have fought for this country. And so you're going to have the amusement park. Do we have Eno Sarris here?
Yeah.
Our national baseball columnist from The Athletic. Hi, Eno. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
When's the last time you've been to Dallas? Was it the winter meetings?
Yeah.
Have you been over to, have you seen lately around Cowboy Stadium and ballpark?
No, they're building it up.
So you're going to have the amusement park. You're going to have the 2 baseball fields. So the old baseball field, Globe Life Field, they still play like high school football games and stuff there. Then you got the Rangers where they play now, Globe Life Park. And then you got Jerry's World. And then they have this amazing, I can't wait to see, museum for Purple Heart winners. Going to be really cool. And the word on the street there, Eno, was that gambling's going to get passed in Texas.
Oh boy.
And that's why Mark Cuban sold the majority of the Mavericks to the Adelson family out of Las Vegas. And the Mavericks are going to move to Arlington, Texas. And you're going to have a casino/arena. And we're going to be betting some basketball in the Lone Star State.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen this already with the Cubs, putting together a book that's like right attached to Wrigley Field. It's like right out in front. So they're going to get cozy together.
When you think about trying to replace the cable money in our game, because it's been told to us by, I don't know what year, but you're going to probably around 25 teams or so that are all going to be on the same platform. You'll still have some of the big market teams have their cable deals. They'll hold on to them as long as they can. But gambling is really going to become more prevalent in baseball. I was watching Baseball Network today, and they were going over overs and unders and Gingergaard on the mound for the Dodgers today. Will he have 5.5 strikeouts or not? Like, I was like, watch it going, wow, we're the team moving to Vegas, and we don't even do that. It's amazing how much gambling is being talked on MLB Network, which is owned by the league. What do you hear baseball gambling going forward? How big do you think it will be?
Yeah, I mean, I think they moved their awards to Vegas. MGM is a major part of, like, maybe their biggest sponsor, at the league level. And then, I think that Manfred has always liked Vegas as a destination for the Athletics because of that. They see this as an opportunity, I think, for sure. What is difficult, I think, is just that interaction between fans and players when it comes to props and exactly the stuff you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sort of negative interaction with fans blaming players for not striking out enough guys or whatever it was, or you losing them in the props. But also the props are a weakness when it comes to fringe players that don't make that much money, umpires, minor leaguers. When that's what we've already gotten some trouble with, was a rotation player on the Toronto Raptors, who basically took himself out of a game, and bet the under, had a bunch of people bet the under on his props, and said he was hurt and had to come out of the game. So,
oh, my hamstring.
Yeah, and now he's banned from basketball for life. But it's just those sort of things are going to happen. I think they're going to happen more. I think that's that's where we're headed. But the positive is that the positive here, I think, is that there are some people who bet responsibly. That's fine. My dad has done that for years, and that's part of why I like baseball and I like numbers. But also, we do have to replace that cable money, and as an industry, there has to be some growth potential there, and I think that the gambling money is part of that.
Yeah, there's a new book about Earl Weaver. We're going to have the author on Wednesday. We're going to have him on, and Earl Weaver grew up in St. Louis, and his uncle was a bookie. And in this book, it talks about how Earl Weaver learned numbers and brought those numbers as a manager in the 60s, kind of like his version of analytics, but he did it through gambling, and that helped build one of the great franchises, the Baltimore Orioles. So something we're going to get into. It's really interesting. All right, we're taking stock in the Athletics as of today, Monday, April 28th, 14-14. Right now, the MLB Power Rankings have them at 20th. Obviously, it's been an interesting season. They're playing far better baseball than they did 2 years ago and even last year. This team hasn't been over 500 at this time of the year since Bob Melvin was the skipper in 2021. What do you see so far of Mark Kotze's group in 2025?
The offense is pretty awesome, and it's not just the park; it's a culmination of what we've been seeing. You on this show, but just what we've been seeing. In this crew of players, they put together a lineup, and what's cool about it is it's not necessarily one that barrels the ball more than anybody or hits the ball harder than anybody. They're 13th in barrel rate, and hard hit they're about 15th. This is a team that makes contact. Yeah. And right now the Athletics are 4th in strikeout rate. And if you kind of look at strikeout rate, but also above average in power, they're there with Arizona. They're there with San Diego. They're there with the Mets. They're there with the Cubs. These are teams, these are offenses that make contact, but make contact with power. And I know that he hasn't done it quite yet, and Kurtz has been striking out a little bit in the very early going, but he has been hitting the ball hard. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw from Kurtz a little bit of the Tyler Soderstrom situation, where at first he strikes out a little bit, but he shows you a little glimpse of what's happening, and then he just blossoms on the scene next year. I mentioned Kurtz because once you get him, you got like 6-7 hitters that are just top of the line. Jacob Wilson out here just making contact with anything, anywhere, being kind of a Luis Ariz with shortstop defense. They've got what all it takes to be in a lineup. The pitching, however, is in progress, I'll say.
Do they have enough offense to out-hit their issues?
Yeah, it's a good question. Right now, so far, they've been scoring. Let me see here. I can't find. Here they've been scoring 4.3 runs per game and allowing 5.1 runs per game. That is a negative run differential that suggests that they would be sort of a 500 team going forward. And what the projections say is the pitching will improve a little bit, and I think I agree with that. But it is the area that they can improve the most upon when you look upon them in sort of a 2-3 year plan situation.
Would you look overall so far at the American League West as a disappointment?
I saw it as wide open to go into the season. What we've seen is the Astros have taken a step back, and they are not the Astros of yore. The Rangers are up and down every year, and the Mariners, who are currently atop the division, have really good stretches and end up at 86 wins every year. So I think this is equal parts some disappointment from the top teams, but also just I had this circled as maybe the most wide open division in baseball.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, right? Because there's not a super team in the division. It's been interesting the talk of looking at the Yankees of the late 90s, early 2000s, that they were so good that they caused everybody around them like, hey, if you're the Red Sox, if you want to compete, you're gonna have to spend more money. You're gonna have to, and now we're kind of seeing that with the Dodgers, that they've gone to such a level that if you're San Francisco, San Diego, Arizona, you want to be in this thing, you're gonna have to change your ways. So it's fun to watch that, but in our division, you don't see that. So it is wide open. I got to ask you from an offensive standpoint, because we've talked barrel rates with you before. It's a part of the name of your podcast. Obviously, it is big for you. Do you change ever how you evaluate? I don't know whether it's teams or it's individual players where, yes, barrels, but now we're seeing less strikeouts. Let's hit for a little more average. Like, have you changed how you evaluate offensive players on what exactly you want to see and how you'll view somebody as a top offensive player?
Yeah, even within barrel rate itself, there's actually a decision you can make that is pretty important. There's a often reported barrel rate that's barrels divided by balls in play. And so those are, you'll find at the very top of that list, there'll be all the league's biggest sluggers, but also a bunch of swing and miss. You can have, there's another barrel rate, which is barrels over plate appearances, which is a slightly different idea. Now you award contact,
It's like I'm back in math class. I got to go to a whole other thing now. Can I just have one? Now I got what?
Yeah, but
barrels over what plate appearances?
Yeah, so that's just so that you're tracking how much they're making contact, how many batted balls they're putting out there, and when you do barrels over plate appearances, then you get guys like Tatis, who's making a lot more contact this year. Jorge Polanco is making a lot more contact this year. Tyler Soderstrom isn't top 10 in barrels per batted ball events, but he's top 10 in barrels per plate appearance because he's making more contact this year. So, that's just a little sort of tweak that you can do that sort of points to the importance of it. And then, yes, there are a bunch of guys, like, I don't know if you've seen Christopher Morel play. When he's with the Rays, he can throw the ball really, really hard. He can run really, really fast. He can hit the ball really, really hard, but he can't hit the ball often, and he can't play defense. And, like the finer points of baseball are kind of lost on him, I think we were going towards a lot of Christopher Morels, and some of the rule changes, some of the rules changes have like forced us to be like, well, no, I don't actually have a lot of places to put a guy like this. He has to play defense now because we can't hide him at second and use the shift, and you know what I mean? Like, so there's that, and then there's the ball is a little bit deader this year. There's a little bit more drag on it. And if the ball's not going out, if you're not hitting homers all the time, then you can't go for homers all the time. You know what I mean? You can't, if the ball's not going to reward you, then you can't just be like, we need to hit homers all the time. So now it becomes more important to move the lineup and to get hits and string together hits. So you've seen a lot of the smart teams kind of go towards making more contact instead of, kind of littering the lineup with guys who swing and miss and hit dongs.
Yeah, it's all in the margins, and things change year after year. I always look at it this way because there's two things I want to get back to you on what you just said. One is I think about golf, where you got guys who stand on the range and they can hit the ball 360, 370 yards, and they look amazing. But then you put them on the course in a tournament and they can't score. So it's like, great, they got all these attributes on the range and they look incredible, but now when it's time to win a tournament and do all the little things it takes to win a tournament, they're not great at it. We had a lot of those guys. And then you bring the ball up again, and, it's like we talked so much about the ball a few years ago, and we're dissecting balls, and the ball has changed. And then we're finding out that Major League Baseball has bought part of Rawlings and the ball, and we learned all this and then we haven't talked about the ball in a while. That's the first I've heard anybody bring up the ball. So the ball is not flying. I guess, according to StatCast, the ball is not flying. It's flying a little bit less this year.
The drag is up on the ball. Now there's also the inside of the ball. And so, they could have changed the inside of the ball, but if you're looking at, drag, the sort of, there have been, I would say like about 7 or 8 days this year that had more drag this year than any day last year. So, it's a handmade thing. We've talked about this a lot, but it's a handmade thing. And so batch to batch, there are differences, and, month to month, there are differences, and there's going to be differences ball to ball. There's always going to be that. But when you graph the drag, which is just, you can do that very easily, because you look at how fast the ball is going when it comes out of the hand and how fast the ball is going when it goes over the plate, and drag is kind of the difference, right? It's when you think about like a car or whatever, if it has a lot of drag, it's going to slow down.
Yeah.
So you can look at the drag and you graph the drag, and if you look at it, it has generally had more drag this year than it's had since about 2022. I would say is the last time we saw this much drag. So yeah, there's a little bit more drag on it now. Could they have changed the core of the ball? The last time they changed the core of the ball, they told us. They said they were going to deaden the ball and we're changing the core. So I would assume that they would have told us about changing the core of the ball, but. I share probably, people might be surprised. I share, like, I don't want to talk about it. I think it's kind of annoying. I wish the ball was the same every year. And I think there's a lot of like people who watch baseball are like, oh, damn it, we're talking about the ball again.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Is it juiced? Is it not juiced?
Yes.
We just have a ball.
You're right, exactly.
like the NBA, like the Warriors are going tonight. We're like, what ball is Steph shooting tonight? We don't.
Is it deflated or is it?
Where's Tom Brady? Are they taking air out of the football? I mean, come on. Can we just have a ball? That's what's great about hockey, by the way. It's a frozen puck. We know it's a frozen puck, and no one's
never going to be.
Eno Sarris joins us here on A's Cast Live, our local national baseball writer. Nobody better. By the way, Lance Brodowski was on your podcast. We love him from NBC Sports. What he does in Chicago, he's come on this show. You guy, what's the official name of your podcast?
Rates and Barrels.
Rates and Barrels. I'm like, there was so much information. Like, you went over the players. I mean, the way you were breaking down Dylan Cease. I mean, I'm listening. I mean, it's such at a high level. You guys should be really proud, because it's almost like you're teaching a class when you do that show. It is amazing, because we're learning. Like a lot of fans, it's like, hey, just show me the baby. You don't have to tell me how the baby was made. But yes, like the way that pitchers are holding the baseball, the way, the kick change is now the new rage. It was the sweeper. Everybody's throwing a sweeper, but it's like everybody's trying new ways to make the ball move. And it's fascinating, because everybody's built different sizes. Some guys are dropping drives, some guys just fall. The way you hold the ball, what guys are changing, guys are going to pitching labs. There's a lot going on here.
But it's so fast now. It's so fast. So last August, I was talking to Logan Webb about his cutter, and we were talking about grips and chopping it up. And the first time I ever talked about grips was in the A's clubhouse. I was talking to Sean Doolittle, and he was like, grips, you got to talk to Dan Straley. And so I've been, that was like, I don't want to even say how many years anymore. Yeah, that was a while ago.
Dan the K-Man Straley.
Yeah. So ever since then, I've been on grips. And then this happened again, where I'm talking to Logan Webb, and he's like, oh, you got to go and talk to Hayden Birdsong. He's got the weirdest grip. And so I go over, and he's got this kick change grip where it's like a circle, but his second finger. This is the ring finger. It's the
it's your middle
finger.
Yeah.
The middle finger is like almost like a knuckle curve, like it's up on the ball. It's like the tip of the finger is up on the ball as opposed to being on like all the way across the ball. And so on this pitch, what it's done is for guys that have breaking balls and don't have a good changeup, it's giving them a changeup. Like it kicks the axis and it slows it down. And it does a whole lot of stuff for the pitch that they can't do otherwise. It's for basically, the way I think about it is, breaking ball guys are 2-finger dominant. And if you on a circle change, you can take, the front finger off the ball, but your second finger is still there being dominant. And so the kick change says, okay, let's take both of those fingers off the ball. So you have to only throw it with your weakest fingers. And so there's an aspect of that. Anyway, so that's last August, right? So I started hearing about the spring training, like, oh, this guy's throwing a kick change. Andres Munoz throwing a kick change. This guy's throwing. I'm like, what the hell? It didn't exist till last August. And we're just 4 or 5 months later, there were I swear to God, 25 major leaguers came to camp throwing a kick change. And it's because they went to Tread, where, Tread is one of these driveline places. And they were the ones that really started the kick change. So they taught a bunch of people. And then there's social media. Andres Munoz was just doom scrolling on Instagram one night, late night. And he was like, what is that changeup grip? I got to try that. And so he tried it, and now he throws it, So there's social media, there are these training facilities, there's the data. Like, as soon as they saw that kick change, they went into the data and said, whoa, look, it does this to the axis, it does this to the spin rate, it does this and this and this. So now it's the data, it's the drive, it's the facilities, it's the social media, it's the media. We're all plugged in, and the news cycle is so fast that, sweeper, it took like a year or so before that really took off. I wrote about it in 21. In 23, StatCast added it as an official pitch, right?
Yeah.
So, but this time I write about the kick change in August, and by the next March, we're already talking about, is it an official pitch? Did StatCast add it? Like, what's going on? This is the new thing. So the news cycle and the cycle of having an edge in pitching right now is shorter than ever. It's just super, super quick.
So I heard I think that's the guy you're talking about. You called it Tread. What is it? Tread what?
Tread Athletics. Ben Brewster is the main guy. Tyler Zombro came from there.
He was on Sirius XM, and he was breaking it down. And obviously, when you can't see it, I threw a circle change in my horrible college career, and I was trying to figure out it felt weird, but you're like, but that is the beauty of our game. And it's also as I do a lot of shows with guys who played 30 years ago. And you don't want to be disrespectful, but it's you understand this, saying that you played in the big leagues 30 years ago, well, that's great. But the game has changed so much. If you're not staying with our game, if you're not in front office, if you're not in coaching staffs, if you're not the game is different. The game has changed from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, let alone 30, 40 years ago. It is like you said, you could have a pitcher finding this on social media and then going, I want some of that. And next, it changes his game in spring training. Our game is changing rapidly fast.
Yeah, there are guys who've been around for a long time. Brent Strom is a great pitching coach. He's been around forever. And I think, this sounds like a self-help book, and it sounds like some people might roll their eyes, but a growth mindset, just being curious and constantly learning can sort of take that experience that you had a long time ago and make it relevant to today. You know what I mean? But if you don't necessarily make it a priority to learn what these kids are learning and to learn how their process is and all the data and all the stuff, then you're just going back to another time that's not as relevant. So, but if you can take that other time and then roll it back in, because there are people trying different grips back then. There are probably some grips that went out of favor that you could bring back and be like, oh, check this out. Brent Strom has a mental Rolodex of grips. I mean, he's seen thousands of grips, Yeah. So
hey, one of the greatest stories ever is that Sandy Koufax taught Dave Stewart his forkball.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. That's great.
And Koufax, why? I mean, that's unbelievable. It's one thing that scares me, though. Getting back to, we're so into numbers. It's whenever I hear pitcher's down a tick or two on his fastball, or this slider or cutter or whatever, it was going this way last year, this year. It's like, well, no matter what your stuff is, when you're out on the mound, you got to get outs. So no matter how there still has to be that confidence in that mentality as a professional athlete. Like, I may not have my best you-know-what today, my best you-know-what, but I still got to get people out. Like, you're not going to be perfect every year. You're not going to go out of that bullpen and have your best fastball or have your best break or have your best cut or have your best kick change. But you're paid to get people out.
Yeah. I think it is funny because if you take somebody like JP Sears and you put him up against somebody like Osvaldo Bido, on some level they have similar stuff. JP Sears has a 99 stuff plus, and Osvaldo Bido has a 95, and basically, hundreds around average. So you're saying these guys have around average stuff. The reason why I think that the results have been a little different for both of them is twofold. Was just that Sears has better command, but Sears has also had a few more years of he has tried different things. He's tried the sweeper. He's tried the tighter slider. He's tried these. And like sometimes you can get in a pinch and be like, well, I haven't been throwing the sweeper that much this year, but right now the slider's not working. So today we're going to throw the sweeper. It's like it's having that mental Rolodex again of like things that have worked in the past and things that I can go to if things aren't going well, And Sears got a little bit of that veteran presence. Hopefully it rubs off on Bido. Hopefully Bido finds his own a little bit more because in terms of raw stuff, there are some guys in this rotation that can get it done. JT Ginn has like similar raw stuff. There are all these guys that are sort of around average of stuff, and it just takes enough pitches and enough command and enough kind of, how am I going to battle through this day that there's average stuff you can have all sorts of outcomes with average stuff. You could be a really good pitcher, a really bad pitcher. It's the other stuff that comes in. When you have great stuff, it's really hard to be terrible. You know what I mean?
Quickly, you can't win anything early, but you can shoot yourself in the foot and be done. What team, whether it's Orioles, Braves, what team did you think was going to be good? You're like, that ship's sinking.
Yeah, it's the Orioles. In terms of like run differential, what they've done so far is play to a really sub 500 team. They deserve their record. It's not poor luck. And then their rest of season projection is as a 500 team. So if you're 7 games under 500 and your rest of season projection is to be 500, you're not going to the playoffs. And I think it's really upsetting to me because I think they should have been more. They should have had more energy towards their pitching staff. They should have, I don't want to tell them they should be spending more, but they spend a fair amount on getting guys like Charlie Morton and Tomoyuki Sagano and stuff. That was like $25 million. What if you just put $25 million in one basket and gotten Corbin Burns instead? You'd be better off right now. So,
all righty. I tell everybody it's unbelievable journalism. Subscribe to The Athletic. This is the kind of brilliant stuff you're going to get. Rates and Barrels, your podcast is second to none in our game. Anything else you want to promote?
No, we got there's some breaking news coming this week on The Athletic that will be interesting. We'll have to talk about it another time.
Breaking news. Like what day should we look for it?
Probably tomorrow.
Breaking news with good news?
It's just the sort of state of the game stuff. You'll see.
Oh, love it. Well, your stuff's the best. Thank you, buddy. Be well, my friend.
Thanks.
The great Eno Sarris. Nobody better. Is there anybody better in baseball?
No, I miss having him on.
I love Eno Sarris. That's some high level baseball talk right there. But up next, the A's. Are you telling me the A's minor league system is doing really well when like usually it starts out slow?
Yes, it's actually really well.
Are we getting an update next?
Yes.
Is the man who covers the A's minor league system better than anybody else next?
Yes.
Is that Bill Moriarty?
Correct, Bill Moriarty.
Next, right here on A's Cast Live.
When it comes to knocking it out of the park, nobody beats Folsom Lake Ford. Folsom Lake Ford is a 7-time Triple Crown Award winner, Ford Motor Company's highest honor for being the best in customer satisfaction in sales, service, and finance. Step up to the plate for our biggest selection of new Ford models, including the legendary F-150, on sale now. Shop Folsom Lake Ford, your truck headquarters in the Folsom Auto Mall, FolsomLakeFord.com.
That ball is out of here.
A's shortstop Jacob Wilson joined Towny on A's Cast Live to share his approach when stepping into the batter's box.
Yeah, I go out there every day. You kind of have to have a different mindset up here. You're facing the best pitchers in the world pretty much. So just to be able to go up there and look for a pitch that you want to hit in a certain count and kind of being able to go up there and have good battles against these pitchers. When they want to hit a spot, they usually tend to hit that spot, and you just try to capitalize on their mistakes. If they leave a slider hanging or leave a fastball down the middle, you just try to kind of attack on those pitches, because if you miss those, it's gonna be tough to get another one like that, because these guys up here are just so good. So you just try to go up there and just have good at bats. Try to get on base, try to put the ball in play, and more times you get on base, odds are you're gonna score more runs for your team. So kind of my mindset going into it, just going up there and having good at bats.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
Unlock offers and receive exclusive in-game features by downloading the MLB Ballpark app for iPhone and Android today. Plus, get the latest information on game time, schedules, and more.
Calling all college and grad students. Grab your friends and head to the ballpark with this special offer. Save up to 50% off select regular season games throughout the 2025 season. Get your discounted tickets at athletics.com/student. A's center fielder J.J. Bleday joined Towny on A's Cast Live and discussed his experience using the torpedo bat.
I've been using it during the homestands, and it feels like any other bat. Like when you feel it, pick it up, you hit it, it feels like any other bat. But with that being said, there have been some times where I make really flush contact and it doesn't feel like it's going as hard as it would a normal bat. So, the theory behind it is moving the barrel down towards the handle for guys who have more contact closer to the handle, to where, if you get fisted a little bit, it could potentially be a pull side home run or oppo bomb or whatever the case is. For me, I just think it's all a feel-based thing. And, there have been times where I think it feels good, but then there are times where, like, man, I feel like, I got a little bit more if I was using a regular bat.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
Streaming from NBC Sports, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
That's some great stuff right there, man. I was just texting Eno during the break.
Well, I guess we both were, because I was texting him too.
Were you texting
Yeah.
him?
I told him thanks, and then he said, "I hope you guys are good," and all that stuff. And then I told him I was.
Well, I mean, we gotta have more Vino's better. I mean, it's high end stuff. We talked about. I thought that Darren Bush interview we did about hitting, because you need to know, like some people. Hey, I want to show up. I want to have a beer. I want to have a hot dog. I want to have a sausage. I want to bring my kids. I want to go to the game. I want to enjoy it. 2 hours and 20 minutes. Perfect. We're out of there. I get you. I'm with you. I want to service you as a client, but I also want to service the person that wants, hey, what's really going on in the sport, right? The high end stuff. Like what, and I've had to live through, as I've, in my career, I've covered the steroid era. That was really the start, like the start of my career was late 90s. And then I covered through the Moneyball era, and now we're all about, everybody thought they're an amateur GM, and everybody's talking about, what's his Babbitt? Like, oh God, now everybody can go on Baseball Reference or Fangraphs, and they think they're a talent evaluator. But look how it's evolved, right? He was just talking about, well, they're now realizing that, making contact is a big deal. Not everybody swinging out of there, hitting home runs and striking out is the way to go. The smart teams are realizing, yes, we want to barrel it up, but yes, we want to make a lot of contact too. What does that sound like? To me, the first thing I think of is my favorite player of all time, George Brett. What was George Brett, Hall of Famer, known for? Hitting the S-bomb out of it and hitting it all the time.
Putting the ball in play.
Hitting over 300 and driving. They said when George Brett took batting practice, You heard it all around the ballpark, if I'm being a scout for Moneyball. But they said it's just the crack off his bat speed and the way he barreled it, like the greats.
The ball explodes off his bat.
What?
The ball explodes off his bat.
Can't you hear it? Where do you hear it?
They're not all in order, so I have to keep looking.
Where do you hear it?
Oh, Moneyball?
Yeah.
In the scouts room?
Go.
All around the ballpark? I'm looking for it.
You can't find it?
No, because they're not all in order like they used to be.
Ball pops off it's the really old.
He throws the club head at the ball, and when he connects it, he drives it. It pops off the bat. You can hear it all over the ballpark.
You can hear it all over the ballpark. Right? You don't think Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, these guys had all those home runs and over 300. You don't think they Ted Williams?
Who? Sorry, wrong one.
I saw Hatterberg yesterday. I saw Hattie. Did I tell you that? I didn't tell you that.
I like guys like that. They got a little hair on their ass.
By the way, Bill Moriarty's here as well.
Best part of playing that is, hey, that was in the movie. He got a little hair on his ass. I saw Hatterberg yesterday. Said hello. Tell him we got to have him on
nice.
the
Yeah,
show.
I've been seeing more of our scouts at the.
So
games.
is Bill Moriarty going to tell us who's got a little hair on their behind? Is that what he's going to tell us? Bill, you need to tell us. The ball, it jumps off his bat. You could hear it all around the ballpark.
I'll tell you the one thing about all those Moneyball scouts and clips. I always have to stick up for Grady Fuson, who gets a bad rap in that film.
Yeah, Grady's a family friend. He actually plays golf with my brother and my nephew down at San Diego.
Oh yeah, he's from San Diego too. Yeah,
so they play with him a lot.
Grady
Friend
is
of the program.
Grady is an old school guy who does have hair on his ass, but he's also a very smart guy and who adapted to the new things in baseball as well. So I always feel he got a bit of a bad rap in that film. So I like to stick up for him there.
The best line in that movie, which applies to all sports, is when Brad Pitt, it's in the first scene with the scouts, and he looks at him and he looks at the one scout and he goes, if he's such a good hitter, why can't he hit? Now think about that. You can apply that to if he's such a good quarterback, why can't he play quarterback?
Can he hit?
Yeah, if he's such a good shooter, why doesn't he hit 3-pointers? Like if he's that good, if you're telling me he's that good, well, why didn't he do it? And it's so true. But one of the reasons why we love to have you on is not just because you cover our minor league system better than anybody else, Athletics Farm, but also there's success stories going on. Like all the teams are doing what? Like they're doing well. We've got a story to tell about the minor league system right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Of course, the big league club's off to a fun start too, but every one of the A's minor league affiliates has a winning record, and 3 of them have winning percentages over 600 right now. So that's always good to see. But even more importantly, that means that our prospects must be playing well if the teams are winning, and they certainly have been. And Vegas, has been a really great story, and that's exceptionally important because those guys are the ones ready to step in and make a difference at the major leagues. Just so you know, the Las Vegas Aviators, they have the best ERA in the Pacific Coast League. They're the only team in the Pacific Coast League with a team ERA under 4. So
playing in that ballpark?
Yes, they have an team ERA. I believe it's 3.74 at this time. Again, the only team in the PCL with an ERA below 4. So that tells you the pitchers at AAA are doing a good job. And I believe the Aviators have also scored the second most runs of any team in the Pacific Coast League this year as well. Pretty much all the hitters are performing above average. So good news on the hitting front, the pitching front. Lots of guys down there doing a great job who look like they could be ready to step in and contribute if there's an opening, if they're needed over the course of this season, both hitters and pitchers.
That's like saying someone in arena football is actually playing defense. That doesn't happen very often. The fact that you're telling me our pitchers down in Vegas where the ball just flies, it's and really, other than what, Sacramento and Tacoma, every ballpark in the league is Homer Dome.
Yeah, I mean, Reno is like that. Albuquerque's like that. Vegas is like that. El Paso's like that. There's a lot of these sort of,
Colorado Springs.
Yeah, well, we don't have Colorado Springs anymore, but there's a lot of high elevation places where the air is more like Coors Field, and they fly out. So yeah, I think the average ERA in the Pacific Coast League is around 5. That's pretty much average. If you're below 5 ERA, you're doing a good job. But Vegas as a team has an ERA of 3.74, I think it is at this point. So the pitcher's been doing a great job, particularly Gunnar Hoagland, a former first-round draft pick by the Blue Jays. He's made about 6 starts, I think. His ERA is, I think, 2.43 at this point in the Pacific Coast League. A 2.43 ERA is something to take note of, and he's averaging about a strikeout per inning, too. So Gunnar Hoagland is definitely someone who could step in if the A's need another arm at the big league level. I think he's one of the first guys you'd have to look at. Jacob Lopez, who just got called back up, was having a great season there, too. He had an ERA, I think, around 2.45 maybe at Vegas, striking out a lot of guys as well. And Mason Barnett, another promising pitching prospect. First couple starts a little rocky, but the last few have looked good. He's striking out on average a batter per inning there too. So there are definitely a lot of arms there that could help the team. But on the hitting side as well, lots of guys. Denzel Clark, he's hitting almost 300. He's got an on-base percentage over 400. He was out a little bit with a shoulder issue, but since he's been back, he's looked healthy. He's been hitting the ball well. Playing center field like you like to see. Colby Thomas, I think, has got 10 extra base hits already down at Vegas. And Max Muncy, since his first game back down at Vegas, he hit 2 doubles. In his first 4 games, he's got 4 extra base hits. He's hitting 333. Darrell Hernandez is hitting around 300. He's leading the team with 10 doubles. He's got more walks than strikeouts. Brett Harris, third baseman, he had an OPS better than Nick Kurtz at Vegas. Unfortunately, he just sprained his thumb, and Brett Harris is going to be out for a little bit, but he got off to a torrid start there. And you might remember Logan Davidson, another former first-round pick of the A's that doesn't get talked about a lot. He's hitting 341.
All right, come on, Cody. Come on, Cody's guy.
Logan Bill, I can't wait for him to eventually get his call up.
Bill, I don't know you. Cody's shtick is Cody finds a guy that he likes, because we had Logan when he was drafted by the Athletics in the first round. Scott Boras was his agent. He signed the contract. He came to take batting practice. We had Logan on. Nice guy. We had him on. Very polished, obviously, coming out of Clemson, a college guy. And then we had Scott Boras on. I think that was
2019.
That was the famous interview I did with Scott Boras, where he gave me, hey, you think Matt Chapman will re-sign? He gave like an 8-minute answer where he had Major League Baseball being played in Asia and wouldn't answer. Then
that's a bad sign.
Yeah. Clearly, yeah. Should have known right then that this is never going to happen. But go ahead, Logan Davidson. So now it's the shtick Cody has with our general manager, David Force. Cody gets a guy, and then Cody grinds the general manager about this guy. Every single time Cody sees David Force, he brings up Logan Davidson.
Last year was Grant Holman. This year it's Logan. It's last couple of years has been Davidson, but now it's even more so because how well he's doing. And I told David the other day when we had him on in West Sacramento that if you ever call him up, you should let me break the news that we're finally calling him up.
Let you make the call. Well, the Grant Holman bit paid off. I mean, he's back. Logan Davidson hitting better than ever. He's hitting 341, and he is leading the Pacific Coast League in on-base percentage with an on-base percentage of almost 500. And he's been playing every day, playing all around the field, first, second, third. I'd love to see them give Logan Davidson a shot at third base, especially while he's this hot. Why not give it a shot? But he's certainly putting himself back on the map with the performance he's had early this year. And another first-round pick at Vegas is catcher Daniel Susak. A week ago, he was the Pacific Coast League Player of the Week. Another former first-round pick catcher. Lots of guys in Vegas hitting. Also, Drew Avens, I'm sure you remember him from spring training, impressed a lot of people in spring training. He's been hitting leadoff for Vegas, hitting over 300, leading the team with 6 stolen bases, getting on base, playing a great center field. So there's a lot of guys at Vegas playing great, hitters, pitchers, who could step in and help at any time if needed at the big league level.
Luis Morales, Double-A, great arm, the future. How's he doing?
I'll tell you, that's looking like maybe one of the best stories this year. Luis Morales, our Cuban import, young right-hander, has always had the stuff, but never really had the command, hasn't put it together yet. So far at Double-A Midland, over his first 4 starts, he has an ERA of 2.33, and he's striking out an average of 10 batters per 9 innings. And his last 2 starts, he has been absolutely dominant, just unhittable, untouchable, showing improved command, improved changeup, mixing his pitches better, and he's looked unhittable the last couple starts. 2.33 ERA over his first 4 starts at Double-A. He keeps pitching like that. He'll be in Vegas, before long, and then he's just one step away. So it looks like this may be the season where he's really ready to put it together and take that big step forward, which would be huge because he's got better stuff. He throws harder than anyone in the system. So if he's ready to really show that command and put it all together, he could really be something for the A's in the not too distant future.
So are we saying the light's gone on there? And you think that because if he figures it out, he's not going to be down for a long time.
No, I mean, that's the thing. A guy like him, he's got the stuff. He's got the raw stuff.
Yeah.
But, he's been pitching in Cuba. He hasn't faced that great competition. He hasn't had great coaching. It takes a while. So before it just seemed like, he didn't have command. He didn't know where his pitches were going. He couldn't repeat his delivery. He, wasn't quite sure how to sequence his pitches, what was going to work. And, for a guy like that, if it does kind of like just click and you start to realize, oh, this is what I need to do to make the ball go where I want it to go. This is what I need to do to fool hitters. This is what I need to do, how I need to sequence my pitches to make them work best. The stuff's all there. So it's just a matter of figuring that stuff out. I was told before that he also, his delivery wasn't very deceptive, that guys could kind of pick things up, that he was throwing. So it seems he may have gotten a little better at that as well. Also, his changeup wasn't very great, which is the case with a lot of minor league pitchers. I don't know how your changeup was in college, but a lot of young pitchers don't have much of a changeup.
Well, if it was really good, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you.
That's for sure. So so his changeup's improved too, so that always helps. So if he can keep up what he's done in his last couple of starts, he will not be very far away at all, because he's definitely got the best raw stuff in the system, without a doubt.
Well, I got to ask you, because I love the bravado. We saw it in college. Tommy White, how is he doing?
Well, it's good because he's picked it up of late. He's at High A Lansing. He got off to a slow start, started off the season pretty cold there, but lately he's really been picking it up. He's now hitting, I think, 284. He's got about 10 extra base hits now. So we've started to see a little of that pop come through. You often don't see a lot of power early in the Midwest League because April there is kind of like January here, So it takes a little while for things to heat up. I remember when Matt Olson was playing in the Midwest League. I think half of April's games were snowed out, so it's a little different hitting there in April. So Tommy got off to a slow start, but now he's picking it up. The batting average is up. He's been hitting a lot of doubles. Hopefully we'll see the homers coming in bunches too as it warms up. But yeah, he's definitely improved as the month has gone on. Another interesting guy at Lansing, though, is our 4th round pick, Rodney Green out of Cal, center fielder with speed and power. At one point early in the season, he had all 4 of Lansing's home runs. No one else on the team had hit a home run. He had all 4 of them. Now he's got 6 home runs and speed, power, plays center field. Very exciting player. It'll be good to watch him develop. And then last year's 3rd round pick, Josh Kuroda-Grauer, the shortstop's there at Lansing too. He had a bit of a leg or groin injury. He's just come back. I think he's hitting around 273 now. But, he's a really solid, fun player to watch. So we've got last year's 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round picks there at Lansing. Not to mention left-hander Gage Jump, who was last year's comp pick. This guy is striking him out in bunches. His ERA is around 3.5 now. He had a couple of rough outings early, but he's striking out an average of 15 batters per 9 innings. Wow. I think he's got 30 strikeouts in 18 innings left-hander who was a comp pick last year at Lansing, really showing his stuff in the early going there.
Why do you think there is such a difference and a positive mojo and energy going on in the A's minor league system right now from what you've seen in the past?
Well, a lot of it just comes, it's having good players and winning, it's contagious. And, the last few drafts have been really good. Sometimes you just have really good draft years and you get a lot of good players and they all hit. And we've seen that with Jacob Wilson and Nick Kurtz, and they're not the only guys in those drafts that have been playing well. There's a lot of guys below them that have played out very well. And when you get those talented young guys in the draft and they actually perform like you hope and expect, then it becomes really contagious. Everybody's winning. Everybody wants to not be the weak link in the chain. And, that becomes exciting and motivating for all these players. So I think everybody's feeding off everybody else right now. And, nobody wants to disappoint. And I think even seeing the major league team, improving and being better and being a little more exciting, and seeing guys like Jacob Wilson and Nick Kurtz, who were just drafted up there in the major leagues, that's motivation for these guys down there. Sometimes you get stuck in a system for years. You think you got no hope, no chance to get out. In the A system, hey, if I play well enough, I could be there tomorrow. Look at it. So that's exciting, knowing that there are opportunities and the system will move you if you perform. But, Eric Kubota, the director of scouting, and his scouting staff has done a great job these last few drafts. They brought a lot of really talented players into the system, and that just makes all the difference in the world when you hit on those guys in the draft. It makes a huge difference in your farm system and just the general excitement and motivation levels that people feel. And we've now got good players at every level of the system. Even at Stockton, there are tremendous pitchers that most people had never heard of a year ago, who were pitching phenomenally down there. And so every level of the system, there's exciting things going on right now.
Well, when we started A's Cast Live a long time ago, we never thought, but we now know that these kids watch this show. And we first really started learning that with Butler and Geloff, and Bobby Crosby would talk about, oh yeah, I'd have them watch the show. So these kids are watching this show to learn about what's going on with the Athletics. And I recently, our buddy Road Trip Mike ended up where Midland was, and he put me on the phone with Henry Bolte. And you know how much I love Henry Bolte out of Palo Alto High School, second-round pick for us. I think he is definitely going to be a big part of the future of this outfield. So I got to have a phone conversation on the day Nick Kurtz was making his debut. And so since I've gotten to know him over the years, I got on the phone with him and I'm like, hey man, I want you to think about this being you, because this is going to be you. You're coming. We had a great conversation. He's got a good mindset down in Double-A. He is definitely a part of the future of this team. But yeah, so to all these kids who end up watching this show and they're listening to you, when we talk about Jacob Wilson and Tyler Soderstrom and Lawrence Butler and Nick Kurtz, all these kids, if you're watching in the A system, you're next. This can be you.
Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of guys in the system who could have been playing with Nick Kurtz last year in the Arizona Complex League, in Stockton, in Midland, and there you go. The next year, there he is in the big leagues. I mean, how can that not be motivating? That's exciting. And Henry Bolte at Double-A Midland, I think he's hitting around 280. And I think most importantly is his strikeouts have decreased. And, last season, he led the system with, I think, 189 strikeouts. But this season, the strikeout rate's down, which is great to see. Another guy, tremendous speed, tremendous power, still just 21. So, yeah, Henry Bolte is definitely someone to keep an eye on. Definitely the most exciting hitting prospect at Double-A Midland. And just great to see him getting off to a good start and decreasing that strikeout rate a bit. He's a smart hitter. He seems to have adapted at every level and improved his game and refined things a little more at every level. And that's great to see because, as they say, baseball's a game of adjustments. And if you want to keep moving forward, you've got to make those adjustments. And Henry Bolte seems like a guy who's capable of doing that.
All right. I've been looking for the comp for Nick Kurtz. I've heard a lot of different ones. I want to give you, we'll end on this. Here's your opportunity. You give me your comp for Nick Kurtz.
So I'm going to give you the answer you do not want to hear. But I will defend it.
Okay.
The answer is Jim Thome. And I know you think he's just a big hacker, but he's not. Jim Thome, I think, walked over 100 times, maybe 9 times in his career, finished his career with an on-base percentage over 400, had a good batting average throughout. So he was not just a hacker. He took his walks. He got on base. Like Nick Kurtz. I think the good thing is Nick Kurtz probably won't strike out as much as Jim Thome.
Not even close.
Yeah, not even close. But they're physically similar. They both have power. They both take walks. They both get on base. Not a lot of guys finish their career with on-base percentages over 400, especially when they play later into their careers as well. Jim Thome did a great job of getting on base while hitting lots of home runs too. And I think that's really the core, the essence of what Nick Kurtz brings to the table. So, even if he ends up being 2/3 of Jim Thome, I think we'd all settle for that anyway. But Nick Kurtz is a unique, rare player. It's hard to find someone quite comparable. Again, he just has a lot more power than a lot of those disciplined hitters you look at, and then he just gets on base much more than the power hitters you'd look at. So, and again, it might take him a little while to settle in at the major leagues. Many people say now that the gap between AAA and the major leagues is bigger than it's been in a long time. And you see, it takes a Lawrence Butler a little while. It takes a Tyler Soderstrom a little while. It will take a Max Muncy a little while. It might take Nick Kurtz a little while, but he's got all the skills, all the tools to get there and stay there and do what he has to do. So even if he has a little rough patch, don't worry. It is a big gap. It takes a little while, but there's no one better prepared to succeed at the major league level than Nick Kurtz. It's just hard to find a flaw or a weakness in his game at this point.
And there's nobody better covering the A's minor league system than you, my friend. Keep doing a great job. Thank you for everything you do for us at A's Cast, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks a lot. Always good talking to you, Towny.
Bill Moriarty from Athletics Farm. Let's pause for station identification right here on A's Cast. Wow. It's a lot of information today.
Between Eno and him, that's information
a
overload.
A lot of information.
But hey, Vegas, the ERA, incredible.
I worked in the Arena Football League for over 20 years. You know Arena Football was the San Jose SaberCats, and now it's the Bay Area. I never worked for the Bay Area Panthers. My child did. We're both Arena Bowl champions.
I was going to say, you're both champions.
So the idea in Arena Football was to get 2 or 3 stops a game. That was it. You just wanted to stop the other offense just 2 or 3 times. That's why the scores are 80 to 70, because you score every single time. You just wanted to get 2 or 3 stops. That's what AAA baseball is like right now when you're trying to pitch. The game is against you. So if you pitch well in AAA, if you have good pitching numbers, you're really throwing the ball well. It's incredible. We're out of here?
Yeah, we got to go.
We got to go? All right, Johnny and Chris Carey, right, next?
Correct, yep.
And then we'll get you ready for A's Baseball, A's Cast on NBC coming up at 4:30. We're back tomorrow at 2:30. Shay Langoliers is going to join us.
That's what we're working on, yes. And the great Johnny D for Hot Takes Tuesday.
I'm going to triple down on a hot take. Shay Langoliers, enjoy A's Baseball, and thank you for watching and listening to A's Cast Live.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
This has been a presentation of The Athletics.